Hey guys, it's Adrian BHA here bringing you a new video. I don't know if you guys are anything like me or not, but I am horrible at documenting stuff and keeping up with everything and making sure I know how everything is configured and set up. So, of course, this is a real problem when you're talking about all of the smart home gear and home automation stuff I have around the house. So then I ran into xwiki, which is kind of your open source wiki for whatever you want to use it for: home, small business, anything. But for me, I think it's going to be great because I'm going to be able to use it for my smart home setup and kind of document everything that I have set up and installed around the house. So let's check it out. So of course, there are tons of different ways to install this, but we're going to go, of course, with the Docker container setup, and hopefully it will run fairly smooth. This will utilize two Docker containers, one for the front end, which will handle kind of the web interface, and then one for the back end as well, which will be the MySQL database that kind of stores all of the information. For the most part, I expect to be pretty seamless, so let's dive right in.
All right, so let's do a quick run through everything we're going to cover in this video. So, of course, for starters, we're going to go over some prerequisites, things that you need to do before we can get the containers installed. Then we're going to basically dive right in and install the first container, which will be the database container, which will be the MySQL database container that we'll use for xwiki. After that, we will install the actual container for xwiki. Once that's done, we're going to go over the configuration and just kind of walk through the initial setup of xwiki. And then lastly, just as an added bonus, we're going to add it into Heimdall, as we have done recently with a lot of our different web front ends for various things around our house. So let's get started. All right, so let's go over some of our prerequisites that we need to get this set up. One of the main ones that we need to do, of course, is to create a directory to store all of our config, as well as kind of where the MySQL database will kind of be located as well. Now, I usually put all of my folders like these inside my home directory of my Docker host machine. Obviously, you can put them wherever you want. Just make sure you make note of where you locate them. Now, I already have xwiki installed, but I am going to, for the sake of this video, create a second xwiki instance just to kind of show you how everything works. So as you can see, there's my current xwiki directory, but we're going to go ahead and create another one. We'll call it xwiki-test. And so there it is, xwiki-test. That is all we have to do as far as creating that directory. The second part of the prerequisites that we really need to do is we need to build out the network, specifically a network bridge that's going to be utilized between the xwiki and xwiki database Docker containers. All right, so we're going to go here into Portainer stacks. I like to create a separate stack for my wiki containers. As you can see, I already have one there, but we're going to go ahead and add a new stack. I'll just call it wiki test. And at the top here, I'm going to build out this network. So we're going to say networks xwiki-nw-test. And then for the driver, it's going to be bridge. That is basically the network that we're going to use between the two containers, and that's how they will communicate with each other. Once you have all that in place, we're ready to move on to the next step and install the first container, which is our MySQL database container. All right, so here we are again in Portainer stacks. I've gone ahead and pasted this first container in here for the MySQL database container, but we'll kind of go through everything here. I just called mine mysql-wiki. Now, obviously, this is my test one, so it says mysql-xwiki-test. Now, there is a command here that has to be entered when this container is created. It is a MySQL command, basically starting that service. I'm not going to read all that out here, but it will all be in the description below so that you can just copy and paste it. Again, for the container name, just mysql-xwiki test. And now we're ready for the environment variables. Now, these are kind of important and they need to be the same across both containers, but you need to set your root password. And again, you can make it as difficult or secure as you want, but because these two containers are really only talking to each other and they're not going to be accessed remotely, I just made everything xwiki. So for the root password, I set it to xwiki. For the username, I set it to xwiki. And then basically for the password for that user, it's also xwiki, as well as the database. I made that xwiki as well. For the image, this is mysql-5.7. And then here under networks, this is where we're going to call out that network that we created in the previous step. So it's xwiki-nw-test. You can still see it listed there at the top. You did call it out correctly. Now for volumes, this is where we are going to utilize that xwiki directory that we created on our Docker host machine. So for me, it's /home/adrian/xwiki-test/mysql. And then we're just going to point that at /var/lib/mysql. And then there's a second one that we need to create inside that xwiki test directory. So it's /home/adrian/xwiki-test/mysql-init. And then that's going to be pointed at docker-entrypoint-initdb.d. And basically that will set up the container. That's all we need for that specific container. We can say update the stack. And then if we go and click on this container here, we'll just kind of make sure everything looks like it's running okay. Everything looks good. If we jump on the logs here, you can see it is obviously running through and doing the configuration and getting everything set up. Well, I think at this point we are done with installing the container. We just need to do one more thing from the command line of our Docker host machine to be able to get the privileges and everything set up in MySQL. So here I am on the command line. I'm going to get into that newly created Docker container. So I'll do a sudo docker exec -it mysql-xwiki test. And then, of course, /bin/bash will put us in the root of that container. Now we want to run a command here, and we're going to run it as root. And if you remember, we set the root password to xwiki, so it should be fairly easy to do. And I'll have this in the description below as well, so you can copy and paste it. But we're going to grant all privileges on pretty much everything. So it's *** to xwiki at localhost, identified by, and then just xwiki, because that's the database. We'll enter in the password, which again, of course, is xwiki, and that's it. That should be the last step that you need as far as getting the database ready to go for this particular project. Now we are ready to move on to the next step, which is installing the xwiki container. All right, for this next container, I've of course already got it pasted here in the stack. I called mine xwiki test. For the image, it's going to be xwiki:/LTS-mysql-tomcat. The container name, of course, is xwiki test as well. Now for this one, because it's required that the database kind of be up and running before this one starts, I have depends on set to mysql-xwiki test, which of course is my other container. All right, so for the ports, xwiki utilizes port 8080. Since I'm already using that for one of my other containers, I'm using 8280 here, and that's why you see 8280 colon 8080. And for the environment variables, we're going to kind of use the same information that we already implemented in the previous container in the database container. So the user, of course, is xwiki, password is xwiki, the database is xwiki, and then for DB host, this will be the name of the database container. So it's mysql-xwiki test, which is what I called mine. Now on the volumes, this is going to point to the xwiki volume that we created in the first step. So for mine, it was /home/adrian/xwiki test :/user/local/xwiki. And then lastly, for networks, this is going to use that bridge network that we also created in the first step, which is xwiki-nw-test. Once all that's entered, we can go ahead and update the stack. And then we can click on this container just to make sure everything is up and running. Kind of scroll down here, everything looks pretty good. We'll hit the logs here, and it seems to be processing and building everything. So I think we are good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step and go over the configuration. All right, for this one, this is basically going to go through the initial setup and configuration for xwiki. So once we have both the containers up and running, you can hit your xwiki in the browser. Since I'm using 8280, it'll just be the IP address of my Docker host, colon 8280. And then it's got a list of things that we need to do to get this thing built out. We'll go ahead and hit continue here. It wants me to create an admin user. I'm just going to call mine Adrian. Give it a password here. You don't have to put in the email address. We'll just leave that blank since it's just for my home. Go ahead and hit continue. And then it's going to ask you what kind of flavor you want. I'm going to go with the xwiki standard flavor. It gives you a little bit of everything. Seems to be the best one, at least for me, but there are other options even than those that are listed here. So you may want to just do search on the web and see what all your choices are. We'll say install flavor. Hit install here, and this will take a little bit for it to install, so we'll kind of fast forward through this. Now that we have it done, we'll hit continue. And just kind of go through the little tutorial here, hit next on a few of these different steps, kind of showing you where everything is. And here we are. This is our default xwiki template or page here. This is the home page. And so we can hit edit here. We can change some of the information if we want. Fairly robust text editor here. So a lot of stuff you can do with that. If you go to create, we can just go ahead and create a blank page here and give it a name. We'll call it test page and just put something in there in the text line. Then, of course, as you can see on the side over there, there's your home page as well as test page, which is the one that we just created. And there's tons of other stuff you can do with it. Let's go through here and see if we can't get the theme changed out. Maybe go with something like a dark theme. Let's see here. Install new applications. Let's go under look and feel. There's a section specifically for themes, and we can change it to all kinds of different colors. We're going to go with darkly. And as you can see, now we have kind of a dark gray, black, and blue theme, which I kind of like a little bit better, a little easier on the eyes. But again, that's xwiki. Now I have a wiki for my house. I can put in all my home automation stuff and make notes as I make changes and update things. And this is a great way for me to kind of document everything that I've done around the house. Let's go ahead and move on to that last step, and we'll just kind of add it into Heimdall. All right, so here we are in Heimdall. If we hit the 3 lines down here at the bottom, we're going to go and hit the add button. For the title, I'm just going to start typing in xwiki and it should come right up. And there it is. Now all we need to do is put in that URL, which of course was 10.10.10.4:8280, and hit save. Now there on the far end of the second line, you can see the xwiki. We'll go ahead and click on that, and boom, there is the xwiki page that we just set up. So everything looks pretty good. That's it, guys. That's the end of the video. Pretty sweet little setup there. Again, I think xwiki is a great way for you to document your home automation setup around your house and all of the smart home gear that you have collected. This is a good way to kind of keep track of what all you've done and make it easy for others in the event that someone else needs to take a look at your setup. Let's do a quick run through of everything we covered in this video. So, of course, for starters, we went over prerequisites, everything that was needed to get xwiki set up correctly. Once we did that, then we installed the first container, which was the database container for xwiki. Once that was up and running, we went ahead and installed the container for xwiki itself, which is basically the front end. After that, we went over the configuration and the initial setup of xwiki. And lastly, just as an added bonus, we added it into Heimdall.
As always, I want to thank everybody for donating to my Buy Me a Coffee link. Every little bit helps. If you haven't had a chance, jump over to my spring merchandise page and check out all the Burns home automation merchandise. And if you're still looking for VPN service, check out IPVanish. I'll have the link in the description below, so you can jump over there and see what all deals they have running currently right now. And if you're interested in buying and selling stock or maybe cryptocurrency, check out Robinhood and use the link in the description below. You and I both will get some free stock. It's a win-win for both of us. As always, if you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comments below. If there are any videos out there that you would like to see that I don't already have out there, let me know in the comments as well, and I'll see if I can't get something put together for you guys. Otherwise, I'll see you guys around. Thanks.